Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Dale Gardner. I'm really delighted to actually welcome us to what I think is one of the most special of the webinars we'll be running as part of the Commonwealth Tributes Live webinars. I'm the chair of the International Advisory Panel, and donation memorials and recognising and thanking our donors is so important to me personally as an intensive care doctor and in my role in NHS blood and transplant for donation. I've been a huge advocate over many years, and this is really special. I'm joined as my co-chair today with Hasina Mohammed joining us from Trinidad. Hello, you're looking very early in the morning, Hasina. How are you?
Hi, good morning. It is very early. It's 6 a.m. here in Trinidad. So hi, yes it is. So hi, I'm Hasina Mohammed and I am one of the co-chairs for today. I am part of the International Advisory Panel, the representative for Trinidad and Tobago. And like Dr. Gardner, I'm also from the intensive care unit. So I understand the role of a donor and the benefits that they provide to the recipients. And so I'm really happy to be part of this, this one webinar.
It's fantastic. I'm so grateful you're joining me to co-chair today. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome a colleague of mine in the UK, Rachel Stoddard-Murden, who's a team manager in the southwest of England and is actually the lead nurse for the Order of St. John Award, a very special award that we provide to our donors, as well as she's going to bring us some of the information about how we recognise donors in the UK. So immediately over to you, Rachel. Thanks very much.
Great, thank you, Dale. Hello, everybody. I'm just going to share my screen.
Perfect, Rachel, looks good.
Great. Okay, can you still see the main slide?
No, now we've got the presenter view from with your notes and things. We had it better for before.
Okay, I am sorry.
That looks good for us, but maybe not as good for you.
No, exactly. Hang on. How's that look?
We still got your presenter view. But if that's what you have to do, we can manage. We can see the slides as long as you.
Okay. Thank you. I am sorry.
We can go along with you. Go for it.
Okay. So yes, I'm going to talk to us about how we honour deceased donors in the UK. I've tried to put this into some sort of categories. So initially, I'm going to talk about how nationally we honour our donors. So that's organisationally, so here at NHS Blood and Transplant. And also how we honour our donors through the British Crown, so Queen Elizabeth II, and through our Order of St. John Awards, which Dale has already sort of briefly mentioned. And then I'm going to talk about regionally, so those services of remembrance and thanksgiving, and also the hospital art, sculptures and memorials, which are very much locally based, sometimes in individual hospitals and things. So first of all, how do we honour our donors as NHS Blood and Transplant? So just after donation, the family will receive an outcome letter if requested. And then also with that, they will receive this beautiful golden heart pin badge and a card from Anthony Clarkson, who is our director of organ and tissue donation and transplantation in the UK. For every family that has supported the decision to allow their loved one to donate their organs, then this pin badge and letter will go out to them. There are also paediatric or child letters, cards, books and things that can also be sent out to the family as well. And also on the first year anniversary of the donation, our donor family care department will send out a anniversary card which depicts the forget-me-not flower just to also reassure the family that we are thinking of the donor, and you know, we are thanking them consistently and in remembrance of the donor and the very generous act. Then talking again about the Order of St. John, which I've briefly touched on. It's an order of chivalry of the British Crown in partnership with NHS Blood and Transplant to present these posthumous awards. They are absolutely beautiful, and the actual citation that goes along with it, we have updated from this initial picture, but it is really beautiful, and the families who have lost loved ones but have chosen the decision to donate their organs and save lives, Given Hope and Transplantation, will all receive an offer of these. These awards commenced in 2013 for organ donation and 2019, so quite recently really, for tissue donation. The families of organ donors or organ donation receive the citation, the pin, and also the chance to attend a ceremony where these can be presented. The posthumous award is modelled on the Elizabeth Cross, so that's the pin badge. So there is only one per patient, and the families of tissue donors currently are only offered the citation postally. But with our 10-year anniversary coming up next year, we're very hopeful that we will be able to distribute and offer these beautiful pin badges also to our tissue donors. This is some of the social media around the Order of St. John, and the really good feeling that comes with the recognition and honour and pride to these families of their loved ones' most remarkable acts and generosity. The specialist nurse team attend, and in fact the administrators who work with us also organise and plan these award ceremonies, and we always feel incredibly humbled and in wonder really at these amazing families who talk about their loved ones and how their donation experience has played a massive part in their personal journey of bereavement. Each country in the UK has a national memorial to organ donation, paying tribute to the individuals and families who have taken the decision to be an organ donor. These memorials, we hope, give space for reflection, recognition and remembrance, a place where donor families can proudly remember the amazing legacy of their loved one, and also where recipients can pay their tribute to their own donor as well. These are beautifully captured in this short film that I hope to share with you a little later, but I've certainly put the link in. So in England, we can see the beautiful butterfly laid on the forget-me-not at the Arboretum in Staffordshire. In Wales, we have this beautiful monumental stone in the Alexandra Gardens in Cardiff. In Northern Ireland, we have again this beautiful stone from which is in Belfast at the Botanical Gardens, and in Scotland also in Edinburgh at the Royal Botanical Gardens we have like a real sort of beautiful garden area which families can go and have some peace and time. So just to talk a little bit about regionally how we honour our donors. The remembrance and Thanksgiving services are planned and held within the 12 regional teams in the UK. Some of these events are held by specific recipient groups, and some of these events are held as donor groups, people that have got together as donor families, like our donor family network, who are very supportive of everything we do in the UK, and they also have an annual event as a Thanksgiving and Remembrance service. These differ greatly and are very local based. Sometimes it's a single hospital site where these are celebrated. Sometimes it is a single hospital in a local church, or it may be an event held in a hotel. many of the ceremonies actually share the remembrance of the donor by lighting a candle. And you can see here, this is the team from North Wales, actually, which is depicted here. So you can see that it can be whole regions, it can be held in counties, so those are obviously much bigger services, or it can be held even in the hospital chapels. The second way in which we honour our donors regionally, we'll be hearing from Harry, Karen and Tony about within really the Hospital Art Studio, and hopefully seeing some of their amazing designs. Part of the initial task force recommendation in 2008 was that organ donation was increased awareness for our public. And today, in most of our NHS hospitals, we have some type of dedicated design or bench or area to acknowledge and promote the generosity of organ donors and their families. These are normally funded through our hospital organ donation committees. So just to go back, I have mentioned a couple of times about a video. So during the pandemic, we were unable to present our Order of St. John Awards to our families in the normal ceremonies. And we created a film. So you can see here, here's the link. And if we follow the link, it takes us to this landing page. And then you will see these videos. I think I've got time actually just to wet your whistle and show you a little clip of the video. I'm going to sorry, I'm going to try one more time.
Yeah, it feels obviously immense sadness, to be honest. I feel guilt. I shouldn't really feel guilt, but I do, because there's me living my life and my family have the chance to grow with me and love me still. And whereas, unfortunately, that particular family have lost a loved one, and it plays in my mind all the time. However, their loved one is living on in me, so hopefully that can give some sort of, solace to the family that I'm looking after their loved one's heart, and he's always beating and living on inside of me. So that's how I kind of vision and expect to, or hope they believe that or think that. And there's no words to thank anybody for saving somebody's life. It's beyond that, it's beyond the words. It's more the action. So what I can do now to thank them, which is to spread awareness like I'm doing now. I can now still carry on being a father, a son. I can still carry on doing the things that we all, are born to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you will never be enough.
Thank you, Rachel. Over to Hasina.
Thank you. So I have the honor of introducing Tina Coco. So you'll understand why I say I have the honor. So Tina is the state manager and nursing director of Donate Life Queensland. She has worked clinically in organ and tissue donation for over 30 years, establishing the state's organ donation agency in 1999. She's one of the team of national trainers in Australia for the family donation conversation, as well as being a lecturer for the University of Barcelona in family approach, care and communication. In 2017, she received an order of Australia for her service to community health and advocacy of organ and tissue donation at the state, national, and international level. So it's my honor to introduce Tina Coco because she was actually one of my first lecturers in transplants. So I'm really happy to have her here today.
Thanks, Asina. That's a bit embarrassing. I'll share my screen with you all if I can. And, share screen. Sorry. Okay,
Perfect.
can you see me?
Yeah,
Good?
perfect.
Great.
Tina.
Thank you very much, Asina, and thank you very much to NHSBT and the organising committee for the opportunity to share how Australia tributes our donors in our Australian way. But first, I'd like to share with you that we are a large country with a small population of about 25 million. And the size and landscape of our country dictates how and what we do as a nation to commemorate deceased donors in a meaningful way. And most people think that honouring deceased donors is something that happens long after donation. But in fact, from the first moment, it starts from that first moment that we are invited to meet with the family for the first time in ICU, and where donation is considered as part of end-of-life care plan. And following the donation, we continue to honour the donor by supporting the families with the donation care package. And I see we all do very, very similar practices around the world, which is really lovely to see. Our care packages consist of written resources and personal follow-up with donor bereavement counsellors. And with every care package, obviously and we also do an anniversary card at 1 year, but we also have a lapel pin for donor families. It's discreet, it's universal, and designed purely for donor families to wear to honour their loved ones. But in the longer term, what do we do to commemorate our donors? Well, we work very closely with the Organ and Tissue Donation Authority, and also with our Donate Life agencies, and to support activities that honour and acknowledge the gift of donation and the families who have supported that decision. Now, one of those national events through the which is hosted by the Organ and Tissue Authority is our National Thank You Day, which is held in November of each year. Now, this campaign is held across all Donate Life's social media channels: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And it's encouraging all Australians to take part in creating and sharing messages of thanks on their social media channels. But there are also many community groups who independently provide acknowledgement to donors, deceased donors and their families as well. One of those community groups from Western Australia is called Donor Families Australia. And in May each year, they have Donor Heroes Night, where they ask all of us as Australians to switch on a porch light to show their support for donor families. There is another such community group and this day is called Jersey Day. And it's where a New South Wales donor family wanted to honour their young son, Nathan Gremo, who donated his organs at age 13. Now, Jersey Day is held in September of each year. And on this day, we encourage all Australians to wear their favourite jersey. Doesn't matter what it is, but it's their favourite jersey. And we want them to wear it to school, to work, and any activities they're doing to promote organ and tissue donation, and say thank you to our donors who've made transplantation possible. And then we have Saffron Day. Saffron Day was established by an Indian family, also from New South Wales, and they had this day in honour of their 7-year-old son, Dayan, who donated his organs after he passed away while on a holiday in India. So in October every year, Australians are encouraged to wear saffron on this day and post their messages and support on social media. You see that we actually use social media quite a bit in our very large country to reach all of our people. But each Donate Life agency in the States and Territory has its own unique way of honouring deceased donors. Now, you will notice in the slides that I'm going to show you next is how we embrace the outdoors, taking into the account the beauty of our landscapes, our lifestyle, the architecture of our towns and our cities and beaches, and the climate. Most of our activities are a combination of ecumenical services of remembrance, public artworks, hospital tributes, honour boards, and rose planting ceremonies. So just briefly looking at each state and territory, first we'll look at Western Australia, which is a home to several memorials which have been installed over the years with plaques and a memorial fountain. In 1993, a donor honour board was installed at Lake Monga. This is the start of an annual tree planting and honour board ceremony. The honour board has been continually added to and upgraded until its final plaque was installed in 2015. Attention was then turned to a beachfront sculpture. So in November of 2020, a sculpture by a Western Australian artist known as the Life Project was unveiled. The memorial sits beside the beachfront under shady trees, giving people a place to sit and reflect on the selfless gift of organ and tissue donation. Western Australia also holds an annual service of remembrance at the beachfront site, giving donor families and recipients the chance to remember and give thanks. South Australia has held an annual rose planting ceremony since 2000. Each year, a unique hybrid rose is chosen with a special name, and they plant that in the Gift of Life Rose Garden in Bonnython Park. This is a reserved spot only for roses, honouring donors and donor families. Last year, the rose was named Courage to signify the courageous act of donor families. A plaque is also laid, which includes the name of the donor family member planting the rose for that year. Last year, families were also given the opportunity to write something special to their loved one on a heart, which is then pegged to a circular mesh backdrop decorated with flowers. The Australian Capital Territory is home to the Gift of Life Garden at the National Arboretum in Canberra. The garden features a combination of carefully selected plantings and placements of elements to convey the concept of the cycle of life through a constant underlying rhythm of a heartbeat. The garden includes places for quiet reflection and was designed in the hope of inspiring more people to become organ and tissue donors. The Australian Capital Territory has been holding a service of remembrance for more than 10 years. Like other states and territories, the services provide an event for acknowledgement and gratitude to donors and their families. Tasmania holds an annual service of remembrance with a location alternating between northern and southern venues to ensure equitable access for all people statewide. The services are quite intimate, with around 130 people attending each year, and a strong sense of connection is formed among the annual attendees. Tasmania is also in the development stages of a public artwork of life-sized figurative forms for permanent display at the Royal Hobart Hospital. That's hoped to be installed later this year. Victoria has hosted an annual service of remembrance for 25 years, with around 400 people attending annually at the Collingwood Town Hall. The service highlight is its beautiful memorial trees placed around the room, with guests invited to hang a message of thanks or remembrance on the tree for others to read. This enables everyone who attends to take part in the service. The Northern Territory hosts 2 services of remembrance each year, one in Darwin and one in the Territory's centre of Alice Springs. The Alice Springs service includes songs for reflection, followed by a candle lighting ceremony for attendees to remember their loved ones. Both Darwin and Alice Springs have benches at their botanic gardens where people are encouraged to sit and reflect on the selfless gift given by organ donors. The New South Wales Organ and Tissue Donation Service launched an initiative in 2019 to create permanent hospital memorials to honour organ and deceased tissue donors in 3 hospitals to date. One of the artworks is a painting by Aboriginal artist Susan Murphy, who captures the circle of life and the kindness and strength shown in a family's decision to give the gift of life at a time of grief. Another example is an artwork in the form of a large window decal. The artist was asked to convey a sense of nature, growth and new life through the depiction of native landscape and flora from the local area. The New South Wales team also hold an annual service of remembrance in the Sydney CBD. Now, Queensland is unique in its size, and our challenges are ensuring that every city and town where donation occurs has the opportunity to honour donors and their families. And in this picture, you'll see we've turned Queensland upside down so you can see the size we cover and the challenges we face. Queensland was the first state in Australia to hold a service of remembrance to honour donors and give donor families a chance to come together and remember their loved ones. Last year marked 31 years since the state held its first service. And to ensure that all Queensland families have the opportunity to attend, we hold services in 10 locations throughout the state, from the Gold Coast to Cairns. The special feature of the Queensland service is the rose giving ceremony, where organ and tissue recipients are invited to receive a rose to give a rose to donor families from the recipients. And that rose also has a message of thanks. Another much loved feature of the Queensland service is the candle lighting ceremony, where a lighted candle is exchanged between donor families and recipients, symbolising the passing of life from one to another. Families are also offered to wear a ribbon signifying who they are at the service. Now, services of remembrance clearly play an important part, not only in Australia, but also in the UK, but it plays an important part in our landscape. but unfortunately during COVID, it was not possible to hold them as we had done for years. And I'm sure everyone had the same situation. So the Organ and Tissue Authority took courage and provided a national virtual service for 2020 and 2021. But we look forward to having our face-to-face virtual service return in 2022. Queensland also long dreamed of installing permanent artworks in the public areas of donor hospitals to honour organ and tissue donors. And in 2018, this dream became a reality, with art tributes installed in 14 public hospitals from the tip of the state to the bottom of its border. South African-born artist Jane Durand was commissioned to design and create the artworks on a 1.2 metre dome covered with ceramic pieces and tile mosaic. I would like to read just the last 2 lines of the plaque, which is underneath every dome piece in every hospital. It says, "It is hoped that this tribute will create a contemplative space within this hospital to recognise all organ and tissue donors, past, present and future. It is our way to say thank you beyond words for the precious gift of life." Now, in all states and territories, we honour our First Nations people. In Queensland, we commissioned an Indigenous artist by the name of Kylie to depict in art the journey of donation and transplantation for our Indigenous community. Now, this artwork and sections of it will now be used in all of our messaging and merchandise to honour and support our Indigenous population who have given the gift of life and those who have received it. And finally, I would like to thank you for allowing me to share our culture, our beautiful country, and the dedication of the Donate Life staff, the Organ and Tissue Authority, and the community that we have in honouring deceased donors in Australia. Thank you.
Absolutely amazing, Tina. You know, I just put in the chat how inspired and moved I already am, and we've only had 2 talks today, and you know, just full of ideas. So we're going to cross to a different part of the world. I mean, my great pleasure to welcome is Lalitha Raghuram, who's actually from the Mohan Foundation. She's the country director there. Those who don't know the Commonwealth Project, it'd just be worth saying that actually the relationship between NHS Blood and Transplant and the Mohan Foundation in India was really the building block of this new initiative across the Commonwealth, because we had an MOU for 5 years. Letha was very supportive of that. And it's that great success that gave us the idea, let's do something Commonwealth-wide. So it's really my great pleasure to welcome you, Letha, and let's hear what you're up to in India.
Thanks a lot, Dale, and thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity to share my talk today on what we do in India to honor organ donor families. So Mohan is an acronym. Fine. Yeah, thank you. So Mohan is an acronym for Multi-Organ Harvesting Aid Network. We are a non-profit charitable trust, and we are a 25-year-old organization having offices in 8 locations in India. So I'd like to share with you what we do in different parts of the country. So the first and foremost thing that we do, all our transplant coordinators, is to ensure that we make the final journey absolutely memorable. So we ensure that we do honor the donor walk. We also ensure that we put garlands and lay the wreath. And then within 10 days of the donation, one of our transplant coordinators, I don't know why it's in transition. Just give me a second.
Do you want to relaunch again? You've got, we're into the transitions there. Maybe let's go to the slideshow. If you move across to the slideshow.
Yeah.
And then click on that. And then from current slide, you'll get back.
No, actually, I'd like to go back.
You can, and if you just wind your, there we go.
Yeah. So we give a certificate on day 4, you know, within 10 days of the donation to all the donor families. In 1999, we had a donor memorial put up in a large, very popular college. I think I have to relaunch this. Kindly excuse me.
Try again, Lalitha. We're all
Yes.
patient.
So this is a plaque that we put up. I think I'll go after some time, and maybe I'll go next. I'll stop the transition, Dale, if you don't mind that.
Okay, if the transition's causing trouble.
Yeah. Maybe you could have the next speaker in.
Okay, if you're ready for it, Anya, we were going to go to you if you're actually ready for it. Anya's her camera doesn't work, but she's here, and Messina's just going to give you an introduction.
Thank you. So Anya Meyer is a transplant coordinator based in South Africa, working in the state sector, and is currently the president of the South African Transplant Coordination Society. She's a passionate advocate for donor families and will give you a sense of what they do to honor these families in South Africa. Welcome, Anya.
Thank you, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our guest speakers and participants. Thank you for this amazing opportunity. And it's really heartwarming to see how everybody is actually honoring our donors across the world. Thank you for sharing that. And I would like to share with you how we are honoring our donors in South Africa. So we first of all, we are starting with a painting of a beautiful canvas of life. So an empty canvas to us means the following. The meaning of a blank canvas refers to situations where no plans have yet been made. So the choice is up to the individual. And so with this being said, in South Africa, we honor the donors and their families by respecting their choice or their family's choice, being the individual's choice. They are free to decide what should happen or to be done. We respect their choice so much because they choose to paint a new world by giving life to all recipients on a waiting list. And so we respect their decision with so much respect and honor. Today, I'm going to share with you on how we honor our donors and their families who have chosen to paint each recipient's life with color. Families of organ donors can honor and remember their loved ones. Our initiatives in South Africa, and this is a national, I'm talking about a national perspective, is we do a donor pause with first of all, we do a donor pause for all our donors. We do tribute days and thank you letters. Pre-COVID, we did face-to-face memorial physical tributes. And then unfortunately, during the COVID-19, we had to revisit and see how we could change this by still honoring our families and donors. And we went over to virtual and face-to-face. In South Africa, the memorials or tribute days are driven by South Africa NPOs and transplant coordinators. Just to mention a few is Organ Donor Foundation, our Hero 77, and then also TEL, who's the Transplant Education for Living Legacies. A little bit of a breakdown of our transplant centers in South Africa is that we've got a few, quite a few hospitals across the country who does different transplant, heart transplant, liver transplant, kidney transplant, lung transplants. And then we also of course, have our tissue donations and tissue donors and recipients. Currently, we're having a 60 million population, and unfortunately, sitting with a dismal amount of 0.48% of donor per million population. We're currently 52 transplant coordinators in the country, which means it's less than 1 coordinator per million population and only 8 tissue coordinators. But saying this does not put us off. As transplant coordinators, in a nutshell, we do identification, family counseling, consenting, we do the full donation process, we send letters to the families, and what we're going to discuss now is the annual tribute day. First of all, our first point of honoring, respecting our donor is by doing a donor pause. It is in this moment that we honor and respect the choice they have made to paint to paint a recipient's life with color, hope, and life. The transplant coordinator will announce the donor pause before the surgeons commence the procurement. So what we have done pre-COVID is I'm going to share with you what we've done pre-COVID and the ways we have then honored our donors in those times. So normally we have our tribute days in August, which is our organ donation month. We have our tribute days at the memorial venues across the country. We invite our donor families, guest speakers. We have a beautiful candlelight ceremony. We're planting the tree of life because that is what we are giving back. The donors are giving life to recipients. We also have annual donor plaques. My apologies, I do have a bit of bronchitis. And we also have recipients sharing messages of gratitude. And we also invite our hospital management. On your picture on the right side, you will see there we are planting a tree in remembrance of our donors because we believe in the gift of life. And as the tree grows, we believe that there will be life given to our recipients because that's what it's all about. You will see the beautiful candles on the right side of the picture. With the candlelight ceremony, we have pictures of the different organs and tissues on the candles, which we will then ask a recipient who has received those type of organs or tissue to please, in honor of the families and the donor, to light a candle on that day. We also have our guest speakers on the corner in the bottom here. And this is the plaque that I have described to you that we have actually every year we put the numbers, my apologies, the names of the patients, the donors who has donated life to other ones. And this was initiated in the early 90s and we're still continuing with it. Again, just to show you about planting the tree, the significance of the tree, and also that we give family members and staff members, doctors, professors, coordinators, everybody's involved in this day to give tribute back to the families. We also give a small little gift. This is just one of the gifts I'm showing you, that we're giving a small little gift on the day of the tribute day to the families. This is a candle with different words of organ tribute day, save lives, heroes, never forgotten, compassion, tribute day, remembrance, gift of life. So every year we will give the families just a small token of appreciation. The tissue bank and the tissue banks in South Africa, they also have the teardrop, my apologies, that they also give to families when they donate the tissue donation. So what have we done during the COVID time is, this is just going to give us the opportunity to be creative, as we understand that face-to-face was not an option, but we had to remain committed to our donor families, and we just had to change our little bit of a view of how we're going to do this. So in 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic started, we all knew that we couldn't have a face-to-face, we couldn't go to the memorials service, and then we converted to a little video that was compiled and was sent out to all the donor families. I'm going to just show you short clips of the little video. The video does have sound, but for the purpose of this meeting, I'm not playing the sound. I'm just giving you the opportunity to read some of the messages that we've received from the recipients. You can see our staff is also very passionate to say thank you and also describe what organ donation actually meant for each and every one of them. You can see there that organ donation is hope, selfless gift of love, selflessness. It is Ubuntu, thankfulness, and we really, really do appreciate our family donors and our donors in South Africa. On this specific slide, you can see we are because of you, because we live by the principles of Ubuntu. Then in Durban, South Africa, 26th of August, the Circle of Life Donor Memorial was unveiled at the Durban Botanical Gardens. The memorial created an uplifting place of reflection. It acknowledges that while donors may have died, their selfless and altruism in donating their organs has restored recipients to health and markedly improved their lives. What I like about all of this is the colorfulness. And it just shows us again that each and every region in South Africa brings out the brightness, and what life is actually, what donor is actually bringing forward is life and the brightness back into the recipient's life. They've also been donated a little bench where people can go and sit and just embrace the moment in the garden, which was donated by the ODF. And then we come to the butterfly. The butterfly, it's got a big meaning for us, and especially for this specific garden. The main element of the design was 3 interlocking rounds of paving a child's drawing of a butterfly with a large central body and smaller wings. The interconnected circles represented links between the families who have donated and the organ recipients, whilst this round themselves represent the circle of life, wholeness and Trinity. Hand-painted butterfly stones have been set into the center of the rounds to acknowledge individual donors with their own unique stones. The unique butterfly self-reframe, denoted by Vetanova, the Connective Tissue Bank of South Africa, invited people, particularly youngsters, to take a photo and spread a word about organ and tissue donation. Then we came to the Tribute Day in 2021. This is where we had to go and have a look and see where we physically, the transplant coordinators could be at the memorial garden, but unfortunately we were not at this stage allowed to invite any families because of the COVID rules at that point. So you'll see on the top corner there, it says Organ Donor Garden of Remembrance. Like I've said, this garden has started already in the early 90s. And like you see on the left side, there's a circle of plaques, and there are names on those plaques from the early 90s, and we are just continuing with this to honor our donors. I would like to now just play a short little video for you of the introduction of the Tribute Day video we made, and this we've also distributed on Facebook and on YouTube on that day.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you at our annual Organ Donor Tribute Day, which is a very special event for us, for the donor families. And I would like to thank everybody for being here, but we'll go into that a bit later. And I just want to leave one thought with you. Goodbyes are not forever, and goodbyes are not the end. It simply means that I will miss you until we meet again.
Ndiyabulela mawethu.
Siyabonga. Thank you.
Thank you. Ndiyabulela.
Baie dankie.
Siyabonga. Baie dankie.
Tatenda.
Thank you.
Enkosi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Midase.
Thank you.
Baie dankie. Thank you very much. Baie dankie.
Thank you. Obrigado.
Siyabulela kakhulu. Inkomo. Akhenza. Akhenza Shinene.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Baie dankie. Shukran. Kati.
Baie dankie.
Yadeboga tata.
So thank you is defined as an expression of gratitude used to show appreciation for something. So it's very important for us all to say thank you. As a Rainbow Nation, we will encourage to use each and everybody to say thank you. Our thank you letters are normally sent 3 months after post-transplantation. We encourage our recipients to please write thank you letters to our donor families, which are highly appreciated. We are normally the person in between the recipient and the donor family, because we don't, in South Africa, we don't really allow the family meeting the recipient, and therefore we are the middle tone of making sure that the donor family does receive the letters and vice versa. I just want to show you a short little clip from the video again. These are all donors who has contributed to the gift of life in 2020.
Anya, we're nearly out of time. Maybe you can just go to your last slide if you can, because we've got 3 more speakers to get through.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I would like to leave you with a quote. Transplant is a calling. It's a vocation. It is hard, medically, surgically, psychologically, and emotionally. It requires people who are above average and requires people who are prepared to bat behind the curve. Transplant is magic. Thank you.
That's beautiful. And then obviously being the Commonwealth, apart from our friends in Canada, we all love cricket, maybe, but maybe Canada can come on board. So thank you, Anya. Sorry to cut you off there, but we're going to go straight back to Lalitha to get through your talk. We've got 3 more speakers to get through. We've got Lalitha, we've got to do Jenny from Canada, and then Tony and the Hospital Arts Project. So we'll just, if I can ask all the speakers to keep to their 10 minutes, be lovely. So Lalitha, back to you.
Thanks, Dale. So this is our first organ donor memorial in a popular college in Chennai in the year 1999, where we felicitated several organ donor families at that time. And annually we felicitate the organ donor families in different states, and we give them a small sapling and a plaque, and we normally have it in the governor's bungalow, or at the chief minister of the state comes and honors these donor families. At the macro level, we also do annually, the popular monuments of the country, like this is the Qutub Minar and this is the Mumbai CST station, all of them turn green to signify and spread the message about organ donation. We also have this wall of fame at the Fortis Hospital in Delhi, where we give a tribute to organ donors. In Jaipur, we have this Angadatta Smarak, which is the organ donor memorial, which is a popular tourist place. And this also has the names of organ donors between 2015 and now engraved in Hindi. So you can see that in different colors. So the tourists visit this place quite frequently. The SMS hospital is a popular government hospital in Rajasthan, and this boy's organs were donated in SMS hospital. And the street has been named after him. Dikshant is his name, and so the street has been named after him as Dikshant Path. One wing in the hospital has also been named after an organ donor. Radharani is the name of the donor, and it's called the Radharani Ward, again in Jaipur. This, I think, is the best tribute ever to organ donors. My colleague, Mrs. Pallavi Kumar, summited the Everest Base Camp and also the Mount Kilimanjaro in the years 2018 and 2019. And she hoisted a banner which says, "No tribute too high for organ donors." So this is something that we are truly proud of. One of the things that we always do is to ensure that we give the certificates to the donor families. We have an organ donation helpline, which is responded to in 8 languages. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because we answer at least about 100 calls every single day in different languages. Day before yesterday, my colleague, Mrs. Jaya Jairam, received a call from a donor family, a potential donor family from Gujarat, saying that we want to ensure that we receive a certificate if my brother's organs were donated. And she assured them and promised them, in fact, that a certificate will be given to them. So then the donation of this 42-year-old man happened, and all the organs were retrieved and distributed among the city hospitals. So while we do this at the micro level and macro level, spreading the message about organ donation, and also when we do the organ donor family felicitation, it's not just felicitating the organ donor, but also spreading the message about organ donation. Some of you perhaps don't know, I am myself a donor family. I lost my son in a car accident in 2004. He was 19 years old, and we donated all his organs. And in fact, the President of India at that time invited me to the President's house and felicitated me. So that's something that we carry the work. We not only preach about organ donation, we also walk the talk. So that is our work in Mohan Foundation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lalitha. You definitely walk the talk. I was just trying to write that quickly in the chat to share with everyone, because you've got a personal connection. We're now going to do something slightly different. We've got a lovely video we're going to try to play from Tony, Harry, and Karen Vanderspot, who are going to actually share for us their work in hospital art and the way they actually have helped build donation memorials around the UK. I mean, basically it's worked by, I think, word of mouth. One hospital has created a beautiful memorial using hospital art, and then the next one goes, how do you do that? We want to do that. And they've done quite a number across the UK as we gradually have one per region, per hospital. In the UK and probably other countries, there are often memorials in parks, either to a war memorial or some other memorial. And I've always said that we should have a tribute or a memorial in every single hospital, and we should have the same, and they're starting to make that happen. So with fingers crossed for technology, Tony, over to you. And
Hi there, we're going to try and play this video now, and we've had a few technical difficulties, so if all goes wrong, we've got a backup plan. So over to Harry to play the video.
Hello, I'm Harry.
I'm Karen.
And I'm Tony.
In this short video, we're going to talk about donation memorial artworks and why we think art is the greatest way to promote and raise awareness of organ and tissue donation, whilst also recognising the amazing work of donation doctors and nurses and acting as a memorial to donors and donor families.
Sometimes when a memorial is referred to, what may immediately come to mind is something sombre, as found in a graveyard, but a donation artwork can be attractive and prominent, featuring elements from nature in order to symbolise regeneration and thereby creating something that is uplifting, inspiring and thought-provoking.
We've created a lot of organ and tissue donation artworks over the years. We always try to make each artwork unique and relevant to its location.
For example, Southampton is famous for sailing events, and many varieties of seabirds congregate around this area of estuaries and mudflats. So our artwork, Sails and Seabirds, takes these key elements as inspiration, depicting gulls soaring around an abstract representation of wind-blown sailing ships, signifying the freedom given by the gift of life.
Pauline Holmes, the mum of Russell, who died aged 26 of a sudden brain hemorrhage, said, "I love the idea of the yachts in the memorial, as it reminds me of when you see one go over the horizon, it will go out of your view but into someone else's. In the same way that when you lose someone but they donate, someone else's life can begin again." I think this really shows something about the power of art, in that everyone can perceive art slightly differently, and donor families can take away their own personal meaning and feel some solace in the fact that the artwork has been created for them.
Art UK made a short video about our shoaling fish artwork at Bangor Hospital. This gave us a brilliant insight of how local children interpret the artwork, as well as the feedback received from Abby Roberts, a specialist organ donation nurse at the hospital. We're just going to show a short clip from this now.
I think the sculpture represents organ donations. As the fish go round, the circle grows bigger, and that means there are more and more people donating every day.
The sculpture is called Gift of Life, Throdd o Fywyd, and I think it represents that with the birds and the fish, everyone coming in, joining and helping more people live. And the words across the wall, donation, Rhodd, bywyd, life, it just helps people understand that there's people that need more help and people are helping.
The sculpture is very important to me. We worked very hard to recognise that organ donation is a really special gift that families and the donors provide to give life to someone else. So to have something in the hospital that acknowledges what they've done is really precious.
What kind of a response have you had to the sculpture?
We've had a really positive response. Most people that come this way always comment on how beautiful it looks, how it's brightened up the area and how important it is.
That last comment by Abby really confirmed to us how art can grab people's attention and capture people's imagination, which is why it can be a really useful tool for encouraging visitors to engage and keep organ and tissue donation at the forefront of their minds.
When designing a new organ donation memorial, its ability to engage local people is always one of the first things we think about. As the donor artwork develops, it's important to ensure that the finished piece displays a strong sense of identity that will encourage a positive engagement and instill pride in the local community.
Our artwork at Bradford Royal Infirmary utilises birds native to Yorkshire gathering around a tree of life. Symbolically, this artwork represents those awaiting a donation and also donor recipients spreading their wings to enjoy renewed health and their newfound freedom.
Emmerdale actress Kitty McGeever sadly passed away at the Bradford Royal Infirmary, but she donated her organs to help others. Kitty's sister, Caroline Mitchell, said, "The memorial is a beautiful reminder of the generous gift that my sister Kitty and so many thousands of organ donors have made, so that someone else may live a happy and healthy life after their death. It is really very beautiful and life-affirming. We sincerely thank you."
This sculpture was designed for Yeovil District Hospital. Yeovil has long been associated with helicopter design and manufacture. Sycamore seeds are often known as helicopters for the way they spiral to the ground, creating new life. The sculpture depicts a single seed as if just fallen to earth. Its tracery of veins containing uplifting words regarding organ donation. When Roger and Isabel Coombs sadly lost their son, they gifted his organs. Mr. Coombs said, "Giving life is the biggest gift you could give to anyone. When you grieve for someone, like we did, it is a flicker of light knowing they are still around, and seeing the sculpture brings back memories, happy ones. I am proud." This sculpture marks the importance of their gesture, whilst also encouraging others to save lives.
We feel very honoured to make artworks for such an important cause, and we agree with Dale Gardner's sentiments that every hospital should have a donation memorial artwork. We always try to be very accommodating for different budgets and different locations to make this happen. A hospital that carries out a lot of transplants and has a large pot of funding might want to thank donors and promote further donation with a large visual spectacle such as this 3-metre wide brass suspended sunflower that we're currently producing for a new hospital. This utilises the hospital's large entrance space.
For a smaller hospital that only carries out a few transplants a year, it's still just as important to honour donors. Milton Keynes Hospital had a smaller budget and was constricted by space limitations, so we worked with them to find a suitable location and design an artwork that was site specific for them. So we produced this apple blossom wall artwork. Over the years, individual names of organ and tissue donors can be added to each blossom.
As well as wall artworks and suspended sculptures, we also produce indoor and outdoor freestanding sculptures, so there's something for every space. We've also been talking to Mohan Foundation about designing artworks that can be made by craftspeople in India. And we would of course be honoured to design artworks that can be produced in Trinidad and Tobago, Australia, Canada, South Africa and all of the other Commonwealth countries.
We're just going to end on a quote by international opera star Rhys Marion that he said about one of our artworks. We think this perfectly sums up the significance of donation memorial artworks.
The importance of the wonderful organ donation artwork at Bangor is twofold. Firstly, it creates a space for those who have experienced organ donation on both sides of the process, to have place for solace and a moment's thought while having a wonderful feeling that donating is so much appreciated. Secondly, it creates a discussion. It raises awareness. People will ask what it is and what it's for, and the subject of organ donation is raised easily and naturally. They are evocative and attractive pieces of large-scale art and enhance the hospital environment.
Absolutely stunning, and you've done so much work, and I just really enjoyed that.
Hi, thank you. My name is Jenny Ryan. I am a program manager at Canadian Blood Services in the Organ Tissue Donation Transplantation Program. My focus area is public ed and awareness, and I work collaboratively with a number of the organ donation organizations across the country when it comes to national messaging campaigns. As you may know, Canada's organ and tissue donation system is very complex. It comprises many provincial organ donation organizations and transplant programs across the country. Because organ donation falls under provincial jurisdiction, therefore, there are many different organizations involved who all do things a bit differently, including donor recognition. As I mentioned, Canadian Blood Services' role is to facilitate national collaboration and support interprovincial organ sharing, among other things. So today what I'll do is just talk about a few examples of how different programs across the country recognize organ donors and donor families. One example of a way donors are recognized in Canada is through a National Medal of Recognition. This was first designed in 1997. It is presented by some organ donation and transplant programs across the country to living donors and donor families at special ceremonies. The donor's name can be engraved on the back of the medal if the family wishes, and the medal gives tribute to those who have generously given the gift of life. These medals are distributed by a program in Ontario at the London Health Science Centre. Many provincial organ donation organizations, however, have developed their own medals or certificates or methods of recognizing donors in their own jurisdiction. Trillium Gift of Life in Ontario is one of the programs who does leverage the National Medal of Recognition and shares that with donors. They also offer a comprehensive support network and follow-up aftercare program. They are just one of the biggest jurisdictions in the country, and that's how they recognize their donors here in Ontario. In British Columbia, each year they honor the memory of deceased organ donors at a special ceremony. For the last couple of years, of course, they've done various different virtual events and have now created a hybrid event so that folks who are maybe regionally distant from a big city can still participate. So they have their own donor medal. It is different from the National Recognition Medal, and they share that with organ donors and donor families each year. Transplant Manitoba, the Gift of Life program, has a number of different ways of recognizing donors. One way they do it, they have a Gift of Life flag, and in recognition of the remarkable gift and decision to donate life through organ donation, a specially designed flag is flown on the flagpole for 2 days after a donation opportunity occurs. This is the flagpole at the hospital. They also do an annual Tree of Life ceremony, which is designed to celebrate and honor deceased and living organ donors and their families. The purpose is to bring everyone together, reflect on the lives well lived. It's a celebration of life, really, and they share stories from the donor families and transplant recipients. They also do give out the Donor Medal of Recognition at this ceremony. Also involved in Manitoba is the leaf ceremony, which involves family and friends receiving a leaf with the name of their loved one. Living donors receive a leaf with their own name on it, obviously. The leaf is then placed on the Tree of Life, which sits in the hospital foyer, and the tree symbolizes the strength and vibrancy of life, and its crown of leaves acknowledges each individual in their gift of life. Nova Scotia is the first jurisdiction in North America to have adopted a deemed consent model way back in January 2021. They have another unique and moving way to honor donors and support families. The double heart pendant pictured here is the smaller heart is presented to the donor at time of donation with the family present, while the larger heart is given to the family. The smaller heart can fit inside the larger heart. Some families have said that they have the funeral home return the smaller heart to them, and then they add it to the larger pendant to wear them together. This presentation of the heart at the bedside is always moving. If a family happens to not be available or present in Halifax during the donation process, the heart pendant is mailed to them. Also in Nova Scotia, a donor family support program serves to check in on families post-donation, and a gift of life ceremony replaced by special gift packages since COVID, along with a presentation of a certificate signed by the Premier of the province, occurs each year. In this year's package, a packet of wildflower seeds was included. In-person events are expected to resume in 2023, as these are always very moving and include storytelling and, again, a celebration of life. Canadian Blood Services is honored to present an annual award dedicated to the legacy of Logan Boulet. It's one that recognizes organ donors and donor families, those who so selflessly share their stories, raising awareness about organ donation and the powerful impact it has for patients and their families. As we all know, in the face of tragedy, donation is a tiny light in the corner of a family's grief, a tribute to families who have made the decision. Whether the decision has led to successful donation or not, that decision is a gift of life and hope and deserves to be recognized and honored. Logan Boulet had made the decision to be an organ donor just weeks before his passing in the following the tragic Humboldt Broncos bus crash back in April 2018. Logan was inspired to register his decision to donate by his coach and mentor, Rick Suggett, who had died in 2017. After Logan had registered his decision, he took that wise and necessary step of sharing his decision with his family. The details of this tragic event reached a wide audience, and the Logan Boulet effect inspired more than 150,000 Canadians to become registered organ donors in those few short weeks that followed the tragedy. Logan's family continues to share their story, making an essential contribution to nationwide public awareness of organ tissue donation. Logan and the Logan Boulet effect that he inspired through his decision and actions have been a remarkable source of hope and good for patients in Canada. We are honored to have named an award after Logan's legacy, and it will play a part in continuing that legacy for Canadians for generations to come. As I mentioned, this is presented at a ceremony called Honoring Canada's Lifeline that occurs every year in the fall. We look forward to honoring another family or individual this fall with the Logan Boulet Award. That's just a small sampling of some of the ways we recognize organ donors and donor families in Canada. I'm delighted to hear about all of the inspiring ways that donors are recognized around the world. Thank you for including me in this presentation.
I think you can see some beautiful things they're doing in Canada in those final words. The decision of life and hope deserves to be recognised, and that's what we're here to do. So given the time that's available, we're just going to, Hasina, we'll go to you to ask a question of our panel, and we'll be finishing hard in 15 minutes. So Hasina.
All right. Okay, great. So my question here is, so in Trinidad and Tobago, we're a young program, and we're now starting out, and we've just recently started right before COVID to honor our donors. And we had a meeting, but I was really happy to take part in this because I saw what is done internationally, and I'm really impressed. So for me, in 3 years, I would like lovely to show the thank you that the recipient families and the recipient have for the donors. So my question is where do you all see yourself in 3 years with inspiring and honoring your deceased donors?
So should we go to Rachel first for the UK?
Yeah, Rachel.
Thank you, Hasina. So we aspire within the next 3 years to develop a programme of honour through the Order of St. John Awards, which is a posthumous medal equal for our tissue donors as we do have for our organ donors currently. It's a long journey, and the importance of collaborative partnership is just huge for us in the UK. And we have had a lot of success so far with the organ donor awards and the tissue donation launch, which we did in 2021. There are so many beautiful ideas, and I can see Dale's head spinning as hard as mine when I'm looking at all the other ideas and beautiful ceremonies and ways in which you really truly do honour and thank our deceased donors. So yeah, I think in the UK we need to keep progressing. I love the idea of in different places you've got you know, different places in the same country, you've got very different things going on, and I think that is you know, sentimentally really important as well, that we do still have those regional and local ways to celebrate as much as a national. So I think to develop our regional programs a little bit more, and you know, thank goodness the pandemic is allowing us a bit of breathing space and seeing our families again face to face, which is incredibly important. I know for us as nurses and doctors, seeing the donor families come back afterwards and with pride and with you know, the elation of their organ donor loved one has actually made such a huge difference and left a legacy. So yeah, for us, I think progression really, and you know, learning so much from you guys. Yeah, I love the canvas idea too. Thank you.
Wonderful, Rachel, thank you. If anyone in is watching and you want to put into the chat or into the Q&A what you do in your country, because we can't cover every country, please do so we can sort of see that as we're talking. Should we go to Tony and team? Where do you see yourselves, you know, with your Hospital Arts Studio in 3 years, and where would you like to say?
Well, we're very much we're looking to work with the Mohan Foundation, with Lalitha and Dr. Sunil Sroth. And last year, during this first stage of COVID, we actually created a book together to distribute to hospitals around India and to see how we could develop ideas. That got stilted a little bit by the effects of COVID, obviously, and so we're picking that up again now. So it's developing those links and relationships with other people, and being able to help to create wonderful memorials around the UK specifically, and with anyone else who's interested, and we'd love to work with you. So in the UK, we've got, I think we've got 4 projects ongoing right now, including 2 that you saw designs from. And for us, the way that we work is digitally, so that we can develop things which we can distribute easily to clients. And it means that when you're developing a project, you can very clearly show the ideas and develop the concepts collaboratively between you using all of these methods. So that's where we'd like to continue, really.
Tony and team, we really look forward to working with you and have a couple of your wonderful creative work in some parts of our country, and hopefully soon. Really looking forward.
Well, since you got the stage there, Lalitha, we'll ask you, but I think Sunil suggested, do we need a Commonwealth Memorial? I'm not sure where we have it. I mean, maybe you know, we get it unveiled by a royal, and it'd be amazing. The 4th plinth in Trafalgar Square. Yes, I've had my idea on that place for a long time. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. But Lalitha, where do you see?
In the other Commonwealth countries.
Indeed. Maybe we need it. You're right there. Lalitha, do you want to say anything about where you see things in 3 years?
Like I said, we're working with Tony and team, so we'd like to see some of their creative work, you know, in different parts of India, because India, we have a 1.3 billion population. So having it in one place is not going to help. So we need to have it at least in 3 or 4 places. So that's what we would like to do in the next couple of years with them.
Really good. So we should cross to Tina. Tina, if you don't know, is actually from my home in Queensland, where actually I'm originally from, because I am Australian. I am Australian. So Tina, where do you see things in 3 years?
Thanks, Dale. Can I just say first, I was really inspired by everybody else's presentations, and I was so jealous because everyone's got amazing memorials. I think hospital tributes and memorials are very important because it's a daily reminder of, you know, this is part of our medical healthcare system and it's a really important part. So I think we should continue to strive to do hospital tributes so it's on visual show for the community. But I would like to see for Australia probably more focus on or doing as much for tissue donor families as we do for organ donor families. We know that organ donor families account for about a quarter of the number of people who donate tissues. And for a donor family, they don't differentiate between being a tissue donor family or an organ donor family. They donate it. To them, it's the same. But we tend to clearly do more for organ donor families. So I'd like to see some, you know, some of the same resources that we provide to tissue donor families. It's a matter of cost and resources to do that, I understand, but it's something we could strive to in the future, I think.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I'm very much aware as an intensive care doctor that the memorials we have in our hospital, yes, they're nice for the patients' families as they're walking by and they make the hospital look beautiful. But I actually see their main role. One is it's a public thank you to the families and the donor, but it's a message every day to the staff. I think a lot of advertising promotion in hospitals isn't for the public, it's for staff, because what it is, it says donation is a good thing, donation is normal, donation is something you should support. So I see a lot of the marketing we do in hospitals relevant to actually educating staff and promoting donation to staff members, rather than actually having people see a memorial and then they'll sign up onto the register or equivalent. That is fantastic there, Tina. I think we're coming towards the end. I really want to let Hasina have the sort of last word for us, if we can. And really, you're starting off, you told us, on this journey, and there's a lot to talk about. Although, have I forgotten Anya? Have I forgotten you, Anya, before we go to Hasina? So my apologies, Anya. You tell us where you're going to be in 3 years. It's because your camera's not on. I missed you there, but you're there. So please tell us, 3 years, where do you think you'll be?
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. Yes, first of all, I really need to say that I'm inspired and really need to compliment all the presenters with the amazing work you do in your countries. It's really mind-blowing and so encouraging. So in South Africa, we, or especially in the state sector, we live by the slogan of late Mr. Nelson Mandela, I am because of you. We live by the Ubuntu principles. So just a quick one, in my hospital at Charlotte, where I'm the manager and the transplant coordinator, etc., we have created a wall of remembrance 5 years ago with beautiful artwork. It's in a lounge where we actually then get permission from donor families to give us a photo from their family member. It's then put onto the wall of remembrance. And it also gives the opportunity to the family, if they would like, to come and just sit and just be, just be in the presence of their loved one. It's a safe space. We also do have on this opposite wall, where we give all our thank you letters, where they can then read the thank you letters. So it's a safe space for the families to just come and be, and just where we acknowledge, as the transplant team, as the nursing and doctors, we acknowledge the donor families. We've started this in the one hospital. It actually then went over to another hospital where they've also made a similar wall, also to acknowledge our donors. So this is something that I would like to see in 3 years' time, that all our hospitals, especially our transplant centers, where we do have our transplants, etc., where this wall can become alive, because it does bring life to staff, like you've just mentioned. Tina, I also need to agree with you. I would like to see we do more for our tissue donors. I don't think we're doing enough to recognize our tissue donors. We can definitely do more, because I think we are very, we concentrate more on organ donation and really on tissue donation. Although we do honor tissue donors in South Africa, I don't think we're doing enough. So yes, just to conclude, I would like to see that we actually have this wall of remembrance in all our hospitals and facilities to honor our donors. Thank you.
Thank you, Anya.
Thank you, Anya.
Hesina, so all these inspirations, what do you think for the Caribbean and for Trinidad? What are you taking home today?
Well, I'm very excited because actually Friday we are doing one of our first pediatric transplants in maybe 5-8 years. And that's going to be our landmark 200 transplants. So I'm really excited, and I'm thinking I want to just put a plaque outside the transplant unit. We planted a tree, and that was maybe back in 2001. I love the ideas with the comfort space. So the bench, I love the artwork as well. So I'm going to see what we can do to incorporate this into the different hospitals, somewhere that, you know, it will be recognized and it can be seen by everybody. So everybody is more aware. Education, public education on transplants is a little low in the Caribbean island. It's not Caribbean islands, not just Trinidad. So I think hopefully if there's something that acknowledges donors and the gift that these families give, that more people will understand why it's needed and will be able to appreciate it. So this was lovely. And I really do want to thank all the speakers and everybody for their ideas. It was absolutely perfect.
Thank you, Hesina. This has been a very special Commonwealth Tribute to Life webinar. We did an extra long one to really sort of capture this. And I'm sorry for a few technical hassles for our speakers, but really just to thank all our speakers for sharing this and the messages of hope we bring, and also of a thank you to our donors and their families. So just highlighting next week, transplant immunology laboratories. This is much more focused on setting up transplant immunology labs in your country, if you sort of how to build them, how to actually start. So we're really looking forward to that. It's Tuesday, 1 o'clock UK time, as we gear up, as we get closer and closer to the inaugural ceremony on July 22nd. But thank you all for joining. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to my co-chair, Hesina, and have a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We'll see you later.